Got a boisterous crowd in this place today, don't we? Welcome, my friends. Welcome to this service of Advent. We are going to begin our service today with a candle lighting litany, but before we do that, a long time ago in a Galilee far, far away, Advent began. Okay, maybe not, but this video kind of sets the tone. I'm hoping it will set the tone for a wonderful and moving Advent season. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's begin that journey anew. So the Gospel of John speaks of Christ as the true light coming into the world. In commemoration of that coming, we begin a journey today in this season of Advent, which means waiting by lighting a candle each week to reflect the things that Christ will shine into a hurting and wounded world, and likewise into many of our hurting and wounded hearts and spirits. We'll begin in a moment by lighting the first candle, be the candle of hope. And may this hope shine brightly for us this season. Next week, we will light the candle of peace with the candles of joy and love to follow. Hope, peace, joy, and love. All will be burning bright then when we light this fifth candle in the middle, the Christ candle, on Christmas Eve, to signify that these have again been filled in the coming of Jesus, who shall manifest the very love of God into our world. It is significant that the church has always used that language. You've heard it, the coming of Christ, in a season of Advent, because it speaks to a deep and abiding truth. Christ is coming. Christ is always coming, always entering a troubled world, a wounded heart. And so we light the first candle today, the candle of hope, and dare to express our longing for that hope and for the well-being of all creation. I'd like to invite Tammy and Bryn up to light our first candle, the candle of hope. We have a litany here, and this litany was written by an amazing liturgy writer named Marin Tirabassi. So I hope you enjoy this throughout our Advent season right into Christmas.
I light one candle here for hope, and it is like a small lamp lighting a bedside table with open book after a long day. The glow of heart monitor in ICU. A headlamp for a hiker on an unfamiliar trail. or a miner down a shaft, a toddler's Paw Patrol nightlight, or early morning oven in a bakery. For ordinary and available to all is the hope of Advent.
And that extinguished. There we go. Didn't burn it down.
I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all sadness, candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage for fears ever present, candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all my living, candles that will burn all year long.
Join me in just a moment of prayer. Oh, God of surprising generosity and unexpected grace, we have come together this day to begin witness of a miracle, to prepare our hearts for a new invasion of your light in this Advent season. We've come together once again to open our souls and our lives to the birth of Jesus, the very one we call the Christ child, for whom we wait. In the depths of this sacred moment, in this sacred space, in this sacred season, we ask for your gentle presence to captivate and challenge us. We ask for an infusion of the symbols of this season in our lives, hope where there's hopelessness, love where there is fear, joy where there is sorrow, and peace where there is uncertainty and anxiety. Bless our Advent journey anew this year, O God. Amen. Why don't we rise up in body or spirit and join our voices in a beautiful song to kick off the Advent season, Awake, Awake, and
We
Please be seated. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Faith United Church of Christ. Whether you're with us here in person in Dunedin, Florida, or wherever you are online with us, we're delighted that you have chosen to be with us today. A special welcome to any visitors. We have us again in person, online. We are so happy you have chosen to start your day and start your Advent season with us here at Faith UCC. If you are visiting with us, please sign our friendship book. It's on the table, kind of on the way out the door there, so we can keep you apprised of the many happenings that we have going on here and get your email list in our database. We can send you that weekly newsletter. And if you're online with us, just go ahead and send a note to office@faithucc.org, and we'll get you on that same newsletter list and keep you apprised of all that we have going on at Faith UCC. And there's a lot going on these days, starting with something I know you're all excited for, a congregational meeting next Sunday, December 5th, to look at the preliminary budget. It's not to vote on it or anything, it's just to get it in your hands and see what's in it and ask questions if you have them. So that will happen right after the service. So I think we're probably just planning to roll right into it, right? So, if you're not interested in staying or you're not a member here and you're like, I don't need to hear this, one, we'd hope you'd stay and check it out, but then you can just take off after the service. And these meetings are usually pretty quick, so hospitality will be waiting, assuming it goes on usual pattern and it's pretty quick. So now that I said that, of course I jinxed it, it's going to be like 3 hours long. December 12th, we have a holiday celebration, a feast outside. A bunch of you have signed up on a board to bring all sorts of great food. It's going to be a combination, kind of like our Mardi Gras Oktoberfest, crammed in with a new holiday celebration. We'll crank up tunes. Maybe we should have eggnog. Maybe that should be the beverage we're searching for. Oh, yeah, thumbs up there for the Sweden. Give the eggnog. Yeah, I love it. If you're a new member with us, meaning you've joined in the last, 16 months or so, you are a guest. Expect nothing of you but to show up and have a good time and meet lots of cool people. Otherwise, it's just a $5 charge to help us cover the cost of the meat and beverages and all that stuff. So, hey, $5, it's a latte, not a big deal. So there's a sign-up sheet somewhere. If you want to come to that, just go ahead and get your name on that list. And that will be December 12th. All are welcome, regardless of anything. All are welcome. We want this just to be a fun way to kick off our holiday season. I didn't put this up there, but poinsettias, I think, are coming in this week. They will be here next Sunday. And we'll get a dedication out to all of you. Special thank you again to anyone that was able to we had like 57 of them or something like that. So all of you that were able to donate one in honor of or memory of a loved one, it's going to really help the sanctuary look even more beautiful than it is. It's already really pretty in here, isn't it? Yes. So thank you to all those that have put these decorations up and put the tree up, because it's great. And there will be a dedication coming out in the near future. We might play it during a video with all the names of the loved ones that you purchased a poinsettia in honor of. So thank you. If you're interested in joining, you're like, hey, I want that free holiday thing. That $5? Heck no, I want to come for free. Join in that church. Well, you can do that, Before then even, Marge Brown is in the center in the blue right here. And she'll be happy to walk you through all of the ins and outs of church membership, which is fantastic here. So if you are interested, we'd love to have you, wherever you are, online or in person. Tough to get the stuff online, though, through the holiday celebration part of it. But we can put a camera out there and film the holiday, and they can, we can figure that out. I want to invite Sandy Whitman up for a special announcement on Together Women Rise.
I don't know why it doesn't also say Esther, my co-leader.
Oh, and Esther.
Trusted.
Oh, maybe right in front of the, Sandy, let's get you right in front of the camera up here, Sandy.
So, once again, every other month, we have Together Women Rise that used to be called Dining for Women. This is going to be a real special one because we're going to meet in person. We've been Zooming ever since COVID, so we are actually going to meet on December 4th, which is next Saturday. Bring your special dish to share.
We got to snuff for the camera.
I don't. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, so as you many know, it was started to help raise up women and girls in developing countries through education and training. And we have done so much of that because a little goes a long way in these countries. It was started as the idea that everyone would bring food to share and then donate an amount that would be the same as if you went out to eat lunch at that same, eat lunch. And the easiest way, you can bring it to the meeting and throw it in we're gonna have a little basket. But the best way to do it, and the way I do it, is I go online and donate auto. So it just comes out of wherever you want it to be deducted from. So I hope that, Esther's going to tell you a couple of words about the grantees for this month.
Right, so each month we have a grantee for the month of this. Sure. So for the month of, oh yeah, that's much better. For the month of December, the feature grantee is from Rwanda. So it is a project that is funded for, and it's going to offer comprehensive training for adolescents and for adolescent girls, knowledge about self-confidence, decision-making, etc. They're going to strengthen self-confidence, and there's a lot of skills training for them. And that is for the month of December, the grantee. Now, there's also the Sustain grantee, which is an organization that has previously been awarded the monthly grant, but has performed so well that they qualified for a Sustain grant of 3 years. So that is in Nepal. And they will be offering services to women and children of just the lowest economic needs. So it also provides a lot of training and opportunities for girls to empower girls and women around the world.
So anyway, it is dining for women initially, but nothing says men cannot donate.
Just to add, we do have a sign-up sheet in the back. So we would love it if you would sign up this morning and, maybe just jot down something that you would like to share with all our friends. We're going to be gathering here next Saturday, the 4th at 11 a.m. to 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Such a great organization, and it helps really lift impoverished women and girls around the world. This is such needed work. Thank you for leading this. And you say men can attend this as well, and it's, interloper men. No, they can't. Oh, you're banned. Okay, sorry, guys. That's unfortunate because usually when I go out to eat, it's like Burn Steakhouse, so I would have had to donate the amount. Burn Steakhouse steak. I'm only kidding, folks. I don't roll that high. And I think from now on, we're going to start a new thing. We're going to put a box up here of tape. And you're going to be, if you're doing a special announcement, you're going to be in the box. That's what we're going to call it. Get you in the box. And that's so our online community can participate with us as well in the full service. So, couple of joys and concerns. Continue to hold Dawn Jablonski in your hearts and prayers. She continues a time of rehab in what has proven to be a very difficult time. If you're on with us, Dawn, we are thinking about you and your dad and your family. Continue to hold Mudge as she heals from hip surgery and in a time of rehab, and that she can get back to some good days and some full walking. And so, Mudge, we're thinking about you and Whitney. And continue to hold Marge and Eddie. Marge is in the house, and her husband Eddie is at home with just terrible vertigo. So we're hoping that they can get some answers soon. And Lisa Popovich, I know you're online with us, and Erica Miller, because Erica, your mom, is here with us today. Lynn Johnson, welcome, Lynn. And Lisa's been having a heck of a health struggle the last 2 years, and it sounds like she's had a bit of a setback. So, Lisa, know that we are thinking about you and Erica as well. You're in our hearts and prayers, and what a pleasure it is to meet your mom, Erica. And welcome, Lynn. Glad that you're here. I have a couple joys to celebrate. Peter and Jan Goodwin celebrated 61 years of marriage on November 19th. And Barb Turner DeLisle, who's in the house with us today, celebrated her birthday on Thanksgiving. Happy birthday, and welcome back. And Amy Valentino, Mom, is here for Thanksgiving, and that is fun. That's a joy. Welcome, Mom. Another. Oh, no. Don't. Okay. I'm just going to say something here, because I don't want a fight happening in here. We're going to have to come up with Ohio State corners and Michigan corners and keep you all totally separate.
Segregation.
You are the most diehard fans, almost like Packer fans. I mean, it's crazy. We got to have a little fun in this Advent season. Another joy I did want to mention, the community garden over at First Presbyterian. Michelle Friedman, thanks for taking your leadership on this, and thanks for the dozen volunteers that came out on, was that Wednesday morning, and built not one but 2 garden beds on their property. 3 garden beds. Oh, you upped it, huh? 2.5. Oh, I just left. I was there just working and sweating all morning. I just left, and they decided to add a 3rd garden bed. I was there taking pictures. All right, truth be told. But it is so cool over there. We're going to grow food for the community or for events we want to do here. I mean, we can do whatever we want with that food, and it'd be a great thing to donate to Dunedin Cares and get fresh produce going over there. And so really, really cool. Thank you to all who came out to work on that. Really special thank you. And we will need ongoing volunteers. So if you are interested, talk to Michelle Friedman. She's in the back right there by the post, and she'd love to get you on a list to it is something you can just stop on by, right? You can go there you have an hour and you want to do a little weeding and it's a nice day. You just go onto the garden and do a little volunteering. So pretty cool ministry, so thank you. I wonder now if you'll just let's get back into this Advent moment, and this is such a beautiful season. I invite you just to close your eyes and just kindle in your heart some warm memories of the season, and what does hope mean to you? What are you hoping for? And for the world, for yourself, for this community, for sisters and brothers around the world. Just breathe in a deep sense of hope this day. As our candle burns anew, try and let go of any anxiety you're carrying. You don't need it in this time, in this hour, in this sacred space. Set it aside for another time. And then let's journey ever deeper into this worship service together.
Our scripture reading for this first Sunday in Advent is the lectionary text from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 21, verses 20 through 36. This translation is from the Message, and it takes place as Jesus is teaching in the temple while sharing some terrible predictions about what is soon to come. Hear these words from the Gospel of Luke. When you see soldiers camped all around Jerusalem, then you'll know that she is about to be devastated. If you're living in Judea at the time, run for the hills. If you're in the city, get out quickly. If you're out in the fields, don't go home to get your coat. This is the day of reckoning. Everything written about it will come to a head. Pregnant and nursing mothers will have it especially hard. Incredible misery, torrential rage, people dropping like flies, people dragged off to prisons, Jerusalem under the boot of barbarians until the nations finish what was given them to do. It will seem like all hell has broken loose. Sun, moon, stars, earth, sea in an uproar, and everyone all over the world in a panic. The wind knocked out of them by the threat of doom, the powers that be quaking. And then they'll see the Son of Man welcomed in grand style, a glorious welcome. When all this starts to happen, up on your feet. Stand tall with your heads high. Help is on the way. He told them a story. Look at a fig tree, any tree for that matter. When the leaves begin to show, one look tells you that summer is right around the corner. The same here. When you see these things happen, you know God's kingdom is about here. Don't brush this off. I'm not just saying this for some future generation, but for this one too. These things will happen. Sky and earth will wear out. My words won't. Be on your guard. Don't let the sharp edge of your expectation get dulled by parties and drinking and shopping. Otherwise, that day is going to take you by complete surprise, spring on you suddenly like a trap, for it's going to come on everyone, everywhere, at once. So whatever you do, don't fall asleep at the wheel. Pray constantly that you will have the strength and the wits to make it through everything that's coming and end up on your feet before the Son of Man.
Thank you, Tammy. So I was out and about doing all those things Jesus just said not to do on Tuesday night last week with some folks from here, from here. You know who you are. At one of our favorite watering holes, as they say. And someone asked me what my sermon topic was for Sunday. I kind of let out a sigh, and I said, I don't know quite yet. They gave me kind of a surprised look, and I said, no, it's not uncommon for me to not know my topic on Tuesday, or heck, even Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, for that matter. I like to always see what transpires, during the week and in the news. And these days, a sermon writer has to be prepared to kind of shift gears and lanes really quickly as our endless news outlets spit out what seems to be one story of injustice and terribleness after another story of injustice. And I said, besides, the main thing that will determine my topic is in the hands of a jury right now in Brunswick, Georgia, as they determine if 3 racist murderers are actually going to be found guilty of killing Ahmaud Arbery, which we knew that they did. But it was an 11 white member jury panel in the heart of Georgia, so one never knows, right? We were all on edge. I know many of you were as well. We talked about it. So I said, it's going to go one of two ways on Sunday. It's either going to be a scorched earth, fire and brimstone, hell-raising, justice sermon if the verdict was not guilty, or it's going to be a nice, quiet first Sunday in Advent kind of sermon. I have to say, as I sat down to type away yesterday, I'm sure glad it is an Advent week 1 style service and 3 murdering racists are off to jail to atone for the killing of an innocent black man who had the audacity to go jogging. How dare he? Or to enter a house under construction. So there was justice in Georgia last week, though it is still sad that so many of us were uncertain which way this was going to go. We're still there. But they were found guilty, and now hopefully the family of Ahmaud can find a sense of peace as they remember their beloved who was taken from them because of the taint of still festering and unfortunately growing racism. And a little side note, okay, who hasn't walked through a house under construction? Who hasn't done that? You've never done that? You're the only one raising your hand in here. Brandon, you got to get going. I've done it countless times. It's kind of fun, right? Yeah, you go in there, like where are they putting the kitchen, where the bedrooms, and it's just how they build this thing. It's kind of fun. People do this all the time. And I admit that I am one of them, and I surely will do it again. But I'm white. So apparently it's okay. It wasn't that way with Arbery, and that's sad. Okay, I wasn't going to go there. On to Advent. But we had to say those words. I'm glad the justice system won out this time. We are beginning our Advent journey today as we light 4 candles, candles for peace, hope, joy, and love, the things of the season that light our path to Christmas Eve and the birth of a new God consciousness like the world has never seen, and a little baby soon to be born in the modern day hills of Palestine. And so Advent, which means waiting, will be our time to kind of just prepare ourselves, again, to symbolically greet the Christ child, and that will grow and inspire some of the best, and if we're honest with ourselves, also some of the worst movements in history, in human history. In any case, it all began on the silent night, a holy night, our tradition tells us, so we enter the story again this year anew. And so where does our Advent story begin? In chaos. You just heard it. So yesterday I sat down to write this sermon, and I've got my holiday Starbucks cup in front of me, feeling good, festive. Thank God it's got those religious symbols like reindeers and stuff back on them. The smell of the house is no longer captive to turkey, but now bathed in the scent of a fresh Fraser fir Christmas tree that we picked up on Friday, wafting. The lights, the fun, the festive decorations are just waiting to be added to the tree. Oh, things are good. My house is decorated like Clark Griswold would be totally jealous if he were to drive by. So with all this great stuff, I'm so happy, and I sit down, I've got Andy Williams in the background. It's the most wonderful time of the year, just that reminded me. It's playing through my Bluetooth, and I'm feeling festive. I take a gander at the lectionary, like what's the text? And see this passage for my joyous season, and then it's like, wait, what? What? It will seem like all hell has broken loose. Sun, moon, stars, earth, sea in an uproar, and everyone all over the world in a panic. The wind knocked out of them by the threat of doom. The powers that be quaking. Merry Christmas. Nursing mothers in peril? What's that about? Incredible misery? Torrential rage. Have you ever heard torrential rage before in the scriptures? But that's not what Andy Williams is telling me. The background, this ain't no Burl Ives singing about a holly jolly Christmas. There's nothing festive and bright in this story that stands as the gateway to Advent in all 3 of the years of the lectionary cycle. They all begin with some version of this story. Each year our season of spring and bright begins in chaos and violence and death and fear. And there we will strangely begin our Advent journey again this year into the heart of an ancient story of amazing hope and trust, yet born amidst some really difficult and really trying times. Now, quick little side note, I have all sorts of problems with the lectionary. You know what that is? That 3-year cycle of readings that many of our Christian denominations use for the purpose of kind of organizing worship, around particular liturgical seasons like Advent or say Lent or ordinary time and other seasons. In fact, today, the first week of Advent is the day that we switch to a new year. So last week, the church was in lectionary year B, which is focused on the Gospel of Mark. And today, on Advent 1, we switch to year C and the Gospel of Luke. And I see it's helpful for organizing, worship and giving a narrative flow to the year and stuff like that. But I've always lamented how the lectionary just leaves out all the juicy stuff. Leaves out all that really just dangerous stuff, like don't go there, Will Robinson stuff, Leaves all that stuff out and just kind of proof texts cherry picks a nice little vision of Christianity for us to just kind of live our lives in. So I've always kind of looked at it. It's not like the lectionary for that. They don't use it all that often. But even though it sounds strange, I believe the lectionary compilers, going way back beyond our current revised standard version, got it exactly right in placing this challenging and painful text at the beginning of Advent. I mean, obviously one reason Christmas falls at the darkest and coldest times of the year, times when folks throughout history literally waited with hope that they might make it through the brutality of another winter. I mean, let's be honest, we don't know exactly when and what season Jesus was born, even though their winters are very different. We don't know when Jesus was born, but if you're going to tell the story of a great source of hope coming into the world to save it from all of its evils that had befallen it, it probably would begin in the shortest and coldest days and longest and darkest of nights, the harshest time of the year. Light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it, we are told, right? So lectionary got this one correct, because there's absolutely no way to understand Advent, and especially Christmas, if we do not first understand the terrible, God is awful, context of where these ancient stories came from, and also explore some widely accepted scholarly facts about the emergence of the Christian story in the first century. So I'm going to take you there. First, some background and some facts. Facts, not fake news, not alternative facts. These are facts. Scholars agree on these. Barry will back me up on that. Again, though we don't know the season, we don't know when Jesus was born. We don't know if it was in summer or spring or, it could have been July 4th. We don't know if there was such a thing then. But it was roughly around the year 4 BCE. That's what we do know. That's a widely accepted scholarly fact. He was born in a region of Palestine. Stories say Bethlehem, might have been otherwise, but it seems to be fairly factual. He was born to a virgin named Mary, completely factual. Okay, we're going to let Barry tackle that one, I think, in a couple of weeks, so hold on to that one. Jesus lived, traveled, followed John the Baptist. Those things are pretty factual. In fact, in the Gospel of Mark, the first written, they know this is a scholarly fact, the first written of all the Gospels, there is no story about Jesus' birth. Did you know that? It begins with John the Baptist, and the Gospel just opens with Jesus walking along the river, the Jordan River, and he sees John the Baptist, who we'll encounter in the coming weeks, and he's baptized. So think about it. If we only had Mark, we'd have no Christmas. You realize that? No angels and wise men, no manger, no round yon virgin, no silent night, holy night. Nothing that we identify with Christmas would exist. We have to look to Matthew and Luke for those things, though the details of their stories vary very much widely. But that's for another sermon. So Jesus lived, right? Factual. In around Galilee, we know he grew up, he traveled, and he likely worked to some kind of a low-level trade kind of thing to make a living, if he worked at all. I mean, let's be honest. These people were incredibly poor when you were the lowest of the low and the poorest of the poor. But eventually he found John the Baptist movement, and he became a part of it, and he picked up his mantle when John was executed by Herod. Most scholars believe this is fact. Jesus then spent the next several years amassing his own following, challenging deeply held religious and cultural tenets, and breaking down barriers between people and cultures, and challenging the empire of Rome. Now, as a Jewish man living under the full oppressive weight of the Roman Empire, this was really risky. This was really risky, and he knew that, but he challenged its authority nonetheless, and his fame and his following spread. He became to be seen by the Jewish high authorities as a threat to the peace, as they knew that he would spark a revolt. They'd seen this before. And with his teaching and his words, at any moment, and a whole bunch of people would be killed. A whole bunch of Jewish men, women, and children would be killed. So he was arrested. He was beaten and killed in a manner fit only for slaves and rebellious dissidents against the empire. The story could have died right there, as so many others did. But Jesus' following was a strong one. And they stayed together in his memory, and they kept gathering in his name for the next 30 years, until around the year 66, when the pivotal event happened that our scripture text today speaks of. The beginning of the Roman-Judean War, and the siege and sack of Jerusalem, and the destruction of the very temple that was the heartbeat of the Jewish life. You can't understand Advent and Christmas without understanding this story. It's impossible. So the years between 58 and 66, there will be no test in this, I promise. They were tumultuous, really tumultuous for the Jewish people, especially as they lived under the time of the crazed ruler Nero. You all familiar with Nero? But even more challenging for those that had left. Jewish people who had left Judaism for this budding thing that was kind of emerging, called Christianity in a loose form, as it was coming out of Judaism, with those that claimed Jesus was the Messiah. And they were either leaving or they were being pushed out of the temple structure, of the synagogue structure, for their new movements. Now Nero, according to most accounts, was demonic. He was a sick man, and he had a particular disdain for these new Jewish Christians, becoming one of the first to persecute them, leading to the deaths eventually of both Peter and Paul, and James, the brother of Jesus. And yes, he had a brother. Don't let that shock you. He had other siblings as well. But in 66 CE, 30 years after Jesus' death, keep this in mind, Jesus probably died around 33 to 36. This is 30 years later, when no gospel accounts yet exist. There's no Mark yet. It's not here. It doesn't exist. The Romans started a plan of uber-heavy taxation of the Jewish people, and they seized their money from the treasuries that obviously did not belong to them. And tension just ran at an all-time high between the Jewish people, especially the rebels, and the Romans. The Jewish rebels led successful attacks against Roman legions in response, killing large numbers of them. But then the Romans would just lead the attacks right back and kill large numbers of Jewish rebels. So Nero in 66 dispatched a general named Vespasian and Vespasian's son named Titus to head to well-fortified Jerusalem to put down this rebellion. And as they marched, think about it, legions of heavily armed soldiers, they went through towns like in Galilee. And you know what they did? They massacred people. They massacred Jewish men and women and children in their homes as they went. So Vespasian was then recalled to Rome to become Caesar because the crazed Nero had been killed. He was murdered. So Vespasian went back and he put his son Titus in full control of everything. And Titus began marching toward Jerusalem, and when they arrived and they were killing their way there, they began a full-out assault. The assault would take 3 years to complete, 3 awful, terrible years, where it's recorded that many Judeans tried to escape, the many that did. And you know what happened? Or they tried to surrender? They were just crucified against the walls in all sorts of terrible ways, probably not fit for an Advent sermon. Children upon their parents. I mean, awful, terrible things. And in the end, Titus razed the whole city. He got through, he breached it, And he burnt its prized temple, the heartbeat of the Jewish life, to the ground, never to be rebuilt again, to only stand as that wall that stands today. That was 70 CE. That's where our scripture comes in. This is why this timeline is so important. All of the Gospels that we know of were written down after, or in the case of Mark, during this event, when Jerusalem was being sacked in that bloody war that saw potentially up to 1 million men, women, and children killed. And most good scholars know that Jesus didn't say the words that Tammy read for us today. Jesus wasn't there giving that speech. For they reference an event and a destruction of Jerusalem that wouldn't happen for another 30 years after his death. They were first written down by Mark, who wrote them back into the life of Jesus, as he told the story of Jesus anew after the fall of the temple, as he was sitting right amidst its still smoldering and burning ruins. They were then expanded in the following decades as Luke and Matthew wrote their own versions of the stories, even now farther removed from the temple destruction. Every word actually, we need to recognize this. Every word in the Gospels is actually this way. They were written back years later, decades later, into the life of Jesus and put on his tongue as though he actually said them. In some cases, he maybe likely said something close to some of these things. Very little, very few, as the oral tradition handed them down. But in many cases, like our text today from Luke, he couldn't have said them because the event he was referring to again was still 3.5 decades away. But that doesn't lessen its meaning for us one bit. In a way, for me, it makes these scriptures even more powerful because they're just about an incredible vision of hope, and not just any hope, but a hope that was forged in the most difficult of times, especially in the case of Mark, who, again, wrote his version of this amidst the pain, amidst the murder, amidst the smoldering ruins. Amidst all of that, he dared to hope. He dared to hope, and he told the story of it. Luke could do the same. And that is precisely why these stories stand to usher us into the season of Advent, because in the story of Jesus, these earliest Jewish Christians, which is what many were, they found great meaning in the promise of what his life was, and in the stories of the things they believed he did, in challenging all the obscene power that would one day lead to the very destruction of the thing that they loved the most, which was the temple and their beloved city of Jerusalem. In reality, they never should have actually put those words back into Jesus' mouth, because if Jesus was the Messiah who will vanquish the evil powers that lord over them, well, then why would you include any mention of the temple being destroyed, right? Didn't Jesus fail then as the Messiah? That's what many were saying. He's not the Messiah. He's not the one. But some still believed that he was. And they told stories about it in a great hope that Jesus' earthly life and challenge was just the beginning, and that he would come back one day. That's what you heard. He'll come back one day in an even more powerful way. Matthew and Luke added their incredible birth story to that. And Jesus' life began to change from one of just another rebel executed who failed to save the temple in Jerusalem to one of God's child himself, born of a virgin, who will come back to vanquish the Romans that destroyed that temple, who massacred them, save and redeem Jerusalem and the whole world in the future. If that's not about the fullness of hope, then I don't know what is. And Advent is the same. We wait amidst the times we live in. We have our own chaos, right? Chaos of our own, our illnesses, our aging, our anxiety, our fears, the things that keep us up at night, the things that threaten the very fabric of who we are. And we hope that, especially in a season, that all of the things that Jesus stood for in his life, peace and love and healing and wholeness and inclusion and justice, will be fulfilled in remembering and celebrating his birth yet again, trusting that he manifested these things as the incarnation of the hope of God, that they are real and tangible, and therefore they are possible for our lives as well. Advent, this season, my friends, is the most powerful of seasons. I want to close with the brilliant words of William Sloane Coffin, who speaks of Advent and hope. He said, Advent celebrates the rebirth of hope. Hope is no mere morning mist hanging over a marshland, waiting to be dissipated by the harsh heat of the rising sun. No, hope is the ultimate optimism that takes into account all of the evil and sorrow that pushes thinking people towards pessimism. Hope is the certainty that God will make good the promise of life. Hope is an acorn dreaming its future. It's the image of the ultimate potential in any particular form of life. Hope is the reflection of the future while the future is still in the womb of potentiality. I love that. Hope is a reflection of the future while the future is still in the womb of potentiality. That's what Luke was saying. Advent is about hope, but we need a lot of it in our lives, don't we? And in our times. And so I wish you a season full of that kind of hope, like they did back then, as we immerse ourselves in the stories and the sights and the sounds of the season and await the birth of Jesus and the hope that he is in just a few weeks as we light that final candle, the Christ candle, the ultimate symbol of hope. Happy Advent. Blessed Advent, everyone. I want to tell you something real quick, though. I connected this back, I didn't write this down, but it dawned on me last night. Connected this back to Ahmaud Arbery, who I started with, because, how do I put this? If you're, say, a black African-American boy or girl in the South, and you're walking in the town square, and you look up at this statue, and what do you see looming down at you? Robert E. Lee, or Stonewall Jackson, looking down at you. Racism, slavery, those that fought to uphold it, staring down at you. How would that make you feel? So I was doing a little research further on this, and this art piece here comes from something called the Ark of Titus. You remember who Titus was? Titus is the one that sacked Jerusalem, sacked the temple. So there's a movement out there, I discovered, to have this giant, it's millions of people see it every year. Has anyone here seen it? Stood underneath its gates. It's in Rome. Very popular tourist place. So I wondered, what, in the case of the South, think of an African-American boy or girl, what does a Jewish boy or girl think when they stand and they look up at the Ark of Titus? And the celebration, it was dedicated to him for his slaughter of 1 million Jewish men, women, and children. We're still in these times. It's crazy, isn't it, how history has come in full circle? But then I thought, they're coming down here. These statues are coming down here. So there's hope in the thought that maybe one day it doesn't have to come down, but it can be moved to a museum where it belongs. And Jewish boys and girls won't have to go and look up and say, that's a symbol of slaughter of my people. So there's hope in that. But it dawned on me last night how this whole thing came full circle from Ahmaud Arbery to hope to a man named Titus and a triumphal ark that's not triumphal in any way. I wish you a blessed Advent, my friends. We got a lot of work to do, and hopefully this season can inspire us to do it. Peace be with you all. Amen. Is that Titus calling? Is that Jesus calling? Disagreed with it.
We are waiting, Lord, waiting. We are waiting, Lord, fill the void till we find your light, your truth. Waiting, we are waiting, Lord. waiting, Lord. Patience, give us patience, Lord.
Patience, give us patience, Lord. When we pray, give us faith that you hear every prayer.
As we're waiting, we are waiting.
That was so beautiful. Thank you. Oh, with the hope, peace, love, and joy that this season of Advent instills in our hearts, let us journey into a time of stillness and prayer together. I want you to close your eyes. This time of silent prayer and connection, search your heart and ask, what is the Christ child whom we await, calling you to this season? Where will you find the hope that his birth and this season represents? With those questions, let us journey into a time of stillness together. As we gently return our quiet minds back to the realm of words on this first Sunday in Advent, this beautiful season, let us do so Strong vision of hope guiding our hearts and minds, and hope for our loved ones, and hope for our world, hope for our church, hope for our health and wellness, and hope for ourselves, and of course always for one another. And may the depth and possibility of hope illuminate our spirits no matter where we find ourselves in this time. Oh, let us also be mindful and hold space for those who are suffering this day. See, those in our world, the most vulnerable and the poorest, the refugee and the immigrant, the farm worker, and the powerless, and the abused and oppressed and struggling, and those for whom racism or any kind of oppression is all too real. Let us pray and hope for our world and those we share it with. In our own lives, may the candle of hope illuminate holy presence, O God, into the lives of those who are grieving, those who are struggling with illness and wrestling with mental illness and issues around depression or anxiety. And of course, those who struggle with this season and hold painful memories of it. All who are suffering in mind, body, or spirit. May the hope that finds its source in that divine spark that lies within the heart of God be presently and powerfully with us in all times. I wonder now if you'll join me in this beautiful interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. The words are on the screen. Indwelling God, infused throughout all existence, we honor you with many names. Your realm is within the human heart. We accept life for all that it can be, on earth as throughout all of creation. May we continue to draw sustenance from this earth, and may we receive forgiveness equal to our own. May we ever move from separation toward union, to live in grace with love in our hearts forever and ever. Amen. Hey, I want to say a quick welcome back. We have some visitors with us, like Rick and Bev, come back from Michigan after a couple years away. They used to spend months down here. And we got family in town from Sweden. Alexanders are here with their family, and Nan Dahlberg is back with us, and others of you have come back from the north. It is just a delight to see you again after a long time away. So thanks for coming back home to us. And we wish you the safest of travels as you return back to wherever it is you're going. So we will miss you, but it's been a pleasure to have you here. Hey, this is just a time where I say thank you for your incredible generosity. And you are the most generous church that I have ever seen. You really are. Thank you for all you've giving. If you've got fat stacks of cash in your pockets, as I always say, and we got plates on the back table there. If you'd like to make a donation, the love offering to all the work that we do together, all of us as a church, that's great. Otherwise, you go to our website, especially if you're online with us, www.faithucc.org, and there is Venko and PayPal right there, and you can make a financial contribution to our love work that way as well. Advent 2 next week. This candle is going to burn. It's a beautiful candle of hope. I hope you can find a strong sense of hope this week. Don't turn on the news. How about that? That's one way. That's one way to stay really hopeful. Just keep the TV off, except to watch the Vikings later today. Turn it on for that, but then turn it off again. I hope you can live this week with just the fullest sense of hope. I love this season. It is truly my, I know I say that, I joke about that, but Advent is really for me where it's at. I love this next 3 to 4 weeks that we're going to have. I hope you can come out for all of the services here, as many as you can, and then we're going to be together on Christmas Eve this year. How cool is that? Remember last Christmas Eve? It was me up here behind a green screen, and Gary was here as my usher, our usher. And I was stressing out up here like there's no tomorrow because I looked out and a storm blew through here like you wouldn't believe. Palm trees were bending. I thought we're going to lose the whole service, and there goes Christmas. But we got through it. It was meaningful, but we weren't together. We weren't together in this kind of community. So now we have online and in person, so we're going to expand that. It's going to be a beautiful Christmas. So Join us for all of the services, whether you're here or online, and make it a meaningful Advent. Well, we need to do one more thing before we head on about our days. And do remember to sign up for the hospitality on December 12th, our Christmas holiday celebration, and also for the Women Rise Up, that is back there as well. So remember to sign up for those things. You know we're coming back when we're starting to talk about sign-up sheets again. You know, we have 800 sign-up sheets going again. We're back, I tell you. And no new variant is going to stop us from coming back. We're not going to let that happen. So we're back, baby. Why don't we rise up in body or spirit and sing our way out of here on this beautiful Sunday. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with each of us. Go in peace and go in hope. Love one another. Serve our God. Amen. I'm losing it today.